going through a series of shlokas with a common theme. All right, and what is our current theme? Does anyone know, or can anyone share? You can type it in the chat or you can unmute and just say it. Our current theme. It's a very important theme. Yes, so our current theme is Krishna is the source of everything. Okay, Krishna is the source of everything. And so today's shloka is also very much related to that. So let us look at today's shloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mamaivamsho jivaloke. Mamaivamsho jivaloke. Jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Mana shashtani indriyani. Mana shashtani indriyani. Prakriti stani karshati. Prakriti stani karshati. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Okay. So we can see clearly here in this shloka how Krishna is the source of the living entities. So Krishna says here himself clearly, right, that we are his eternal fragmental parts. Okay, so this is a very nice shloka which actually speaks about our eternal identity. If we read in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says in the very first line that the living entity is the fragmental part of the Supreme Lord, eternally, part and parcel. What does part and parcel mean? Okay, does it mean that we take a piece of paper and tear off pieces of it and then that whole becomes segregated? And then that whole piece of paper becomes useless and is vanquished? No, that's not what it means, right? Eternally parts and parcels of the Lord. This means that, okay, Krishna is eternal and his fragmental parts are also eternal. And what is meant by fragmental parts? The Lord has various energies. Okay, he has his external energy or the Bahiranga Shakti, which is material nature. And then there's his internal energy or Antaranga Shakti, which is the spiritual world. Okay, and in between these two is his marginal energy or Tatastha Shakti, the living entities. So we are all the marginal energy, the living entities. We can choose to either move towards the material energy or we can move towards the spiritual energy. So in that way, we are marginal. Okay. So we are separated from the Lord. But we are there in some part of the Lord's creation. We continue to exist in some parts of the Lord creation, although we are separated from him. In that way, we are parts and parcels of the Lord. And we are eternal. This is very important to know. Eternal parts and parcels, eternally fragmented. The Lord is eternal and we are eternal. Okay, we are individuals. It's not like after we break this cycle of birth and death, the part will go and join the whole and become merged with the whole. Yes, we will join Krishna, but we will retain our identity and separately serve him. We do not become one with him. Okay, there is no merging. The impersonalists have this idea that at some point in time, we, the spirit souls, will go and become one with the Supreme Lord. Okay, but however, that is not the case. So now let us continue to dive deeper into this purport of this wonderful verse. It's one of the important shlokas of Bhagavad-gītā. So, according to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions. So, there are two types of expansions. So, the first one is called Swamsa, Srila Prabhupada says. So, what are these Swamsas? These are primary expansions of the Lord. And the second one is Vipinamsha, or secondary expansions. So Swamsa, or primary expansions, are the Lord's own expansions or incarnations. In each spiritual planet, in the Vaikuntha planets, there is a presiding deity. Okay, there is Lord Ram, Lord Varaha, Matsya, Lord Narsimha, Lord Kurma, etc. Okay, so all of them are called Swamsa, or primary expansions, the Lord's own expansions, basically. But when it comes to Vipinamsa, it means us, or the living entities. We, the Tatastha Shakti of the Lord. Okay, we are separated from the Lord, as we discussed, and we are here for a different purpose. We want to gratify our senses. Okay, because of that, because we are separated and we have a different purpose, so we are called the secondary expansion of the Lord, or the Vipinamsa. So, as his expansions, okay, we are his eternal servitors. This point has to be noted very carefully. We are separate entities, but we are part and parcel of him and are meant to serve him. So what does this tell us? That bhakti is mandatory. It is not optional. Okay, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada further writes that every living entity as an individual soul has his personal individuality and a minute form of independence. So we are minute and we have minute independence of free will. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul. And by proper use of that independence, he is always liberated. Okay, so we are minute, 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. That's what we are. Okay, and because we are that minute, hence the free will given to us also is very minute. But that minute independence itself is so powerful. If we misuse that minute independence, we can make a wrong decision of enjoying without Krishna. So basically, that is what we desired. That's why we have come to this material world. When using that same free will, we decide that we want to give enjoyment to the Lord. Okay? Then what happens? We become completely free from the three modes of material nature and we can become liberated. Okay, so we are basically like adamant, arrogant children, okay, who have forsaken our parents and left home thinking that I will sustain myself outside independently. I don't need my parents. I don't need any help. Okay, so, but Krishna is unlimited. He is the source of everything. He is our very rich Father. But somehow we have become separated from him due to our own immaturity. And because we have a lot of material attachment and desires. Okay, so why are we suffering here? So we know that now we are suffering here because we are separated from Krishna. We know that he is the source of everything. We know that he is the source of ourselves. Okay, we are his parts and parcels. But yet, we separate ourselves from him. So that's why we are suffering in this material world. So what is the solution? We have to revive that relationship with Krishna and go back to him. He is, after all, our eternal source. So a child who comes out of home, when that child goes back to the parents will never say, "No, go away. I don't accept you anymore." Will any parent say that? No, they will wholeheartedly accept us. So when parents in the material world can do that, okay, even more so our eternal spiritual father, Krishna, who is just waiting for when we will turn our head to him. It is said that the love between Krishna and the Jiva is one-sided. Only Krishna loves us. We do not love him enough. Okay. So when we turn to him and we actually say and we pray wholeheartedly that Krishna, we chant Hare Krishna and we pray intensely and we say, "Oh Krishna, please accept me. I am your eternal servant. I am yours." Okay. So why will Krishna not accept? He will surely accept us. If we intensely desire to go back to him, he will accept us. Okay. If we do not desire it, then he will also mercifully leave us to do whatever it is that we want in this material world. Okay. So when we call out to him like this and pray to him and tell him that we want to come back to him, then we can accelerate and escalate our spiritual progress and quickly reach our eternal home. Okay, because here we are suffering. We are bound by false ego. This false ego and our mind, clouded by the three modes of material nature, is what makes us forget that Krishna is the source of everything. So we should constantly remind ourselves, Krishna is the source of everything and I should be grateful to him. Let me revive my relationship with him. Okay, so how can we do that? When we serve Krishna, okay, recognizing every day and remembering this, that he is the source of everything, he is our eternal father, then we can quickly go back to him. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada writes in this same wonderful purport, it is stated here that when a living entity gives up this material embodiment and enters into the spiritual world, he revives his spiritual body. So we are still eternally fragmented. Even when we go to the spiritual world, we are separated from, we are different from Krishna. We are in a different form. But we revive our spiritual body, and in this spiritual body, Srila Prabhupada writes, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He can hear and speak to him face to face, and he can understand the Supreme Personality as he is. Okay, so how many of us want to go back to the spiritual world, see Krishna, serve him, speak to him face to face? So just imagine, Krishna wants to give us happiness. If we just go and merge into him and we have no individuality, is it possible to enjoy that happiness of serving him? Right? It is not possible. So we are his eternal fragmented parts and we can go back to him and serve him in our spiritual forms. Okay, so it's important to remember that we do not merge into him like that. So Krishna is the source of everything. Again and again, we remind ourselves we are his parts and parcels. Okay, so only when we go back to him can we be satisfied. If we try to stay in this material world and enjoy independently of him, and we forget him, we forget our origins, we will only feel miserable. Okay, so everyone should strongly aspire to go back home, back to Godhead, to Lord Krishna. We are, after all, his part and parcel. So what are we doing here in this material world? Okay, we try to be independent, but because Krishna is the source of everything, we can never be the master, ever. We are always his eternal fragmental parts. We are his servants and we are eternally dependent on him. So how can we artificially remain in this world thinking that we can be happy. Can anyone be happy in an artificial circumstance? Just like land is not natural for the fish. And no matter what we do, if we bring the fish to land and we give the fish a beautiful AC room to live in and we feed him very nice palatable eatables, will the fish be happy? If we give him nice clothes to wear, will the fish be happy? Never ever. Similarly, in an artificial circumstance, we can never be happy although we try to do all these things. The sooner we realize this, that Krishna is the source of everything and being with him is my natural position, serving him is my natural position, and when we, with this mood, serve him every day, the more peaceful we will become. So, thank you very much, all devotees. So, let us remember today and in the coming days that Krishna is the source of everything, and let us try to serve him in this mood so we can accelerate our paths back to Godhead. So, thank you very much, Hare Krishna, and I hope all of you have a very blissful Krishna conscious day ahead. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Dhanavad.